Connecting community, creating impact. This is the Chamber Link.
Hello and good morning and welcome to the Chamber Link. I'm Sattar Campion and I am excited to be hosting today's conversation. Today we're talking about a topic that continues to shape careers and leadership journeys across industries, and that is mentorship. Whether you're early in your career looking for guidance or further along and thinking about how to give back, mentorship has a powerful impact on individuals, workplaces, and our broader community. And joining me today are Abby Zimmerman from the Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo Chamber, Grace Rabel from Marvin, and Matt Prochniak from Moore Engineering. Each of them brings a unique perspective on what mentorship looks like at different stages in their careers. So I'm excited to dive in. And before we really get to the hard-hitting questions, guys, why don't we start with some brief introductions, a little bit about who you are, what's your role, and how has mentorship played into your career so far? Let's start over with Grace.
All right. Well, hello. My name is Grace Rabel. I work for Marvin. Marvin is a family-owned and led premium window and door manufacturer. I always like to add, because I find that it typically surprises people, is that we have in Fargo and West Fargo, we employ over 2,000 individuals in our 9-building wide campus. So I always love to add that for context. Specifically in my role as the community relations specialist, I lead our efforts on creating meaningful connections between our Marvin team and our wonderful Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo community. In terms of mentorship playing a role in my career, I really believe that it has guided me to where that I am today. Specifically thinking of my time at Marvin, I've been there for just about a year. I still find myself in a little bit of awe. Typically, if you're in a meeting, a team meeting, it is not unusual to have employees who have been there for 10 or 20 years. And I find that really inspiring. I found that mentorship at Marvin, both informal and formal, is so intertwined in our company culture. And there's truly a support system from all sides. And I feel like it's really developed me into the professional that I am today.
Great.
Well, good morning. My name is Matt Prochniak. I'm currently a project manager at Moore Engineering in West Fargo, North Dakota. I've been with Moore a season 10 years. I say season because I also had 4 years of full-time internship there as well. Currently live in West Fargo, and I've just always had a connection with the area. The role mentorship has played in my career thus far is a pretty big one. I've had the benefit of having some pretty impactful mentors along the way, all playing a different part in my career, and they've all helped lay the foundation, not only for me as a professional, but a person as well, and I'm thankful for that.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, it's my turn. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abby Zimmerman. I am the Engagement and Program Strategist at the Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. What that means is I wear 2 hats at the Chamber, which is very fun. I get to serve on our membership team, working with all of our members across the region, over 1,600 of them, all member engagement, member retention, all that fun stuff. And then I also get to run our Young Professional Network. So I get to work with our young professionals across the region on professional development and all of that good stuff. Mentorship has probably been the biggest key to my success in my career. As a young professional myself, I think that mentorship is the biggest tool for myself, just because I don't have the experience that everyone might have, but you can always lean on your mentors to help with that.
Yeah, I love that. Abby, let's stick with that for a little bit. You mentioned that you do a lot of professional development for our young professionals in the community. From your perspective, and you kind of shared a little bit, but develop on this, why is mentorship such an important tool for professional growth?
Yeah, I would say that mentorship is just a way that young professionals, especially, or really any professional, can find clarity and guidance when you're lacking experience. Mm-hmm. So I think about myself and my career. I've taken a lot of random turns, I would say, which has been very fun, and different jobs that I've had. And some of the problems that I've faced have been felt very, very challenging at the time. It felt like something like, I don't know how I'm going to get home tonight and eat dinner because this problem is like, the world is going to end. And then I would call a mentor and they'd be like, yeah, so that's fine. Please stop crying. Like, it's going to be okay. When you're new and you don't have that experience, the highs feel really high and the lows feel really low. Mm-hmm. And that mentorship can just be that sounding board to kind of level you out, I would say. say.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And it kind of touches into what you talked about, Grace, sitting in meetings at Marvin with professionals who have been in the industry for up to 20 plus years on this really long-standing legacy company. That guidance and experience piece, do you have anything that stands out to you in this last year with like, maybe someone you wouldn't even call a mentor, but someone who's been there that has offered some of their experience to help in this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of the mentorship that I've experienced so far, especially thinking of my last year at Marvin, like I mentioned, it's informal and formal. So it's, maybe a team member that I work closely with who's able to guide me in an area that is maybe a little new to me or kind of a transition that we're going through. And I think there's formal mentorship that I've experienced where I really, anchor on an intention or something that I'm looking to improve. And they're able to directly share with me from their experience of how to kind of, like Abby said, anchor myself and kind of navigate it.
That's super cool. Yeah. And, all of you are in somewhat more of that young professional world, right? But I even think that you bring something to the table as a new professional in these careers with folks that have been there for a while. We talked about relationships a little bit, and I'd love to hear from each of you on this. I'm going to start with you, Matt. So here's your heads up. But how have relationships helped to build out your career? And not even the word mentorship on them, but why is there such a high level of importance around those relationships?
Yeah. So I'm currently a member of the leadership Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo community.
Shout out.
Yeah. Program. And one thing that program's taught me is just the value of relationships. To your question, it's powerful. The connections I've gained in that leadership program have shown me that when you're surrounded by a group of like-minded, passionate individuals, you can achieve anything. And the leadership program, it fuses together people from all different backgrounds and personalities. But that one common theme that I've learned from our particular cohort this past year, we're all made up of leaders, and we're willing to be mentors and also mentees. And we're willing to learn from each other. And that's formed relationships across sectors, and it's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, so, I love that. That's so great. And special shout out to the Leadership FMWF program. Thank you for that, Matt. Applications are open right now through April. So get on there, fmwfchamber.com/leadership. Grace or Abby, who would like to go next?
I can jump in.
Awesome.
Relationships are probably, I don't know, my favorite thing ever because it's something that I'm really good at, I think, because I'm not super technical. I'm not like Matt over there. I tried my hand at engineering. It did not go well. And so I really honed in on relationships and how do you build relationships? How do you maintain relationships? And how does that fill your cup? And for me, it really fills my cup. And relationships are something that have moved me to different towns across the country. I've leaned on them in times of need. And similar to my last point of how mentors can help find clarity and guidance, like relationships that's a point too. Like when you don't have the experience and you don't maybe have the technical background like an engineer, when you're looking to get into something new, that's where you lean on your relationships.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
when you reach out for coffee and say, hey, I don't know what you do, but it sounds really cool. Let's chat about it. And so relationships have always been a big part of my career, and they're something that I tell anyone who's willing to listen to continue to maintain and make a priority in their career.
Mm-hmm. I've seen you model that really well. You made it so simple. All it is asking someone to go get coffee and sitting down and getting to know them, build their relationship, see it flourish into mentorship, right?
Exactly. It's I know Sattar is a mother. It's no different than any young child. I'm not a mother myself, but I would imagine young kids don't have a filter. They just ask questions, right? And so while I would encourage you to have a filter with your relationships, I would also encourage you to be curious. Like ask the questions. What does a day look like in your job? What are something that you wish you knew when you were my age? What's something you wish I would know? Like whatever it might be, people are really eager to talk and they want to tell their story too. And
Absolutely.
So ask the questions.
I love that. How about you, Grace?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Matt and Abby have shared. I think relationships are, especially thinking of my role in community relations, extremely heavy, influential in what I do. And thinking internally at Marvin, very collaborative work that we do. It's a lot of, cross-team experience. You're learning from those leaders. And I think when I think of relationships at Marvin, I think of the values that we have. We have 5 very wonderful values. While they're all important, I do have kind of one that resonates with me the most, and it's be stronger together. And I think that really is woven into our culture. It almost makes mentorship a piece of the organization and maybe not an additional aspect of it. So when I think of relationships, I think of kind of that collaborative nature and that be stronger together.
I love that. One of the things you've all talked about is the way that our community collaborates together too. And so we're going to go into a break here in a minute. We're going to do one rapid fire question. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the ways that your businesses have partnered in our community to make it stronger in mentorship. So when we come back, that rapid fire question. Hello and welcome back to the Chamber Link. We're talking about mentorship today. And before we went into the break, I prepped our guests that we're going to do one rapid fire question. So rapid fire to our people. What is one word that you would use to describe the feeling of approaching someone that you want to be mentored by? So starting that mentorship. Grace, you leaned in. We're going to let you go first.
I would say my one word is exciting.
I was going to say excitement, but you used it. So I'm actually going to say relief, because you prep so much to reach out to that mentor, and when you finally do it, it's a weight off your shoulders.
Okay. Coming back to that.
I'm going to say uncomfortable because it's very uncomfortable.
We'll come back to that too.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, let's talk a little bit more about that. So relief. So how did you in your own personal journey identify mentors, and what made those connections successful?
Whether it's been professional or personal, again, like I stated earlier, I've just been super fortunate to be surrounded by great leaders who've also become strong mentors. And some of the greatest mentors I've kind of identified in my young career, I perceive them in a successful position, and then I evaluate that person, see if they align with my personal values, and then I make sure I have an intentional engagement with that person. And so when I say relief, you think and build upon that intentional engagement, that big first step, so much in your brain. And when you finally do it and reach out to that person, they almost become relieved that you asked, because they were probably sensing that you wanted to be their mentee in a way. So, the best part about mentorship is you can't have too many mentors, and you can take the best thing from many of them.
That's a great piece of advice too. I think a lot of times we think we can have one mentor and we need to go all in on that one person, overwhelm them, and then burn them out. But really, we can share the love. We can spread it out, right? Grace, from the Marvin perspective, and just a quick shout out to them because they just sponsored our Intentional Collisions event with our Women Connect, which is a great maybe spot to start with mentorship. For someone who wants a mentor but feels unsure of where to start, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, absolutely. And our engagement with events like Intentional Collisions is Marvin's commitment to our employees' professional development and our growth. Something that I really appreciate about that is that they understand that these opportunities are not just within our walls, but they exist well beyond them. And sometimes those outside perspectives are really the opportunities of kind of the best growth. And I want to throw a plug out there to Intentional Collisions, because when we think of kind of how to engage in maybe a new mentorship, I actually loved the kind of, if you're attending Intentional Collisions as a participant, there was this super helpful guide of, finding your intention, finding people that align with that intention, preparing for that conversation, and then going out there and reaching out to them. And I think that is a phenomenal guide to getting started and finding that mentor. It's not necessarily finding the person that's the first step. It's finding, that area that you want to grow in or that focus that you would like to emphasize.
Yeah, and you both have spoken to values and the importance of values when seeking out that mentor. And I think that's something that's really pinnacle. And what companies are doing is defining their values, but as individuals, defining our values too, and making sure that they all line up. You said intentional engagement as a value and being stronger together as a value. So finding people who can match that and elevate that a little bit. I want to hop over to Abby because you use the word uncomfortable, but you've also talked about just like the little pieces that you bring as a mentee. And so wondering if you can share from your own experience, what does it mean to be an engaged and proactive mentee, especially after that uncomfortable first ask?
Yeah. Excuse me. So I said uncomfortable because my mother, shout out to my mother, has always told me that life should be uncomfortable. That's how you grow. And that if you're not seeking out uncomfortable experiences, you're just going to stay the same. And who wants to do that? So I made a very intentional effort when I came back from my second year of college after getting through the scary first year that I was going to make myself as uncomfortable as possible. And that's really where I saw a lot of my growth and kind of my career take off. And so that's why I bring that word up. And I think that it's important to remember as a mentee, you know, like careers and mentorship and all sorts of stuff in life just are very romanticized. They're uncomfortable though. Like it's not all fun and games. It's not rainbows and sunshine. Like it's scary and it's okay. It's supposed to be scary. And so remembering that it's going to be uncomfortable. One thing that I used to tell myself in my first job when I had to call a customer was, I was just calling my uncle. I wasn't. I was calling a customer, but I would like pretend in my head. And so like to get through that, like over that hump, you can just pretend. Just pretend. It's going to be fine. But as far as your question of being an engaged and proactive mentee, I would say lead the relationship. View it as a practice of being a leader. I think a lot of young professionals aspire to be leaders, which is great. That's what we want in our young professionals because they are the future, right? They're going to be the next group of leaders. And here's a great way to practice that. You should be following up. You should be setting the calendar invites. You should be reaching out. You are the leader in this relationship. And while you don't have all the experience, and that's why you're in the relationship, to gain from their experience, practice being a leader.
Yeah, that's great. That is really great advice. And I think something that even, anybody can really take is lead the relationship. Yeah. I'm going to have you keep building a little bit. I like where you're going. So hoping that we could maybe all share a specific lesson or piece of advice from a mentor that's stuck with us. I mean, you shared about your mom saying, hey, being uncomfortable is how we get comfortable. Would love to hear another one if I can put you on the spot.
Yeah. Ooh, tough one. I've got so many good pieces of advice, honestly. I would say one of my mentors told me pretty early on that like, it's just not that serious. And that really helped because I was just getting so in my head about every little thing that I did. And he was like, Abby, it's really not that serious. Like make mistakes. They expect you to.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the most.
Such a valuable lesson, especially if you can learn it young and early.
Yes.
You mentioned that I'm a mom, but it's something I teach my kids. If you are the smartest person in the room, find a new room. And if you're the best person on the team, try to level up to a new team because you can always learn from mistakes and failure and the people who have gone before you. How about either of you want to share it, like a great lesson that you've taken with you?
I have two. Well, one's kind of the cliche that comes to mind. Honesty is the only answer. It's played out in many different situations so far. But then building upon yours, you don't have to have everything figured out. And it's not a reflection of weakness or lack of preparedness. But the piece that always sticks with me when I've had two mentors say this very same thing, it's your opportunity to be surrounded by great leaders or others that can help you find that answer. So it's been a humbling lesson, but it's a good advice.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think even just both of you have shared, you don't have to know everything.
No.
And that's where we're learning. We're learning in that kind of gray, the muddy spaces.
Yes.
Grace?
Yeah. The lesson that comes to mind for me, and I think it was during a time when I felt like I had to learn everything. It was as I was nearing graduation from NDSU, and I picked a major that I loved, and I figured as I progressed through it that I would just know what happens next because that's how it works. Funny enough, that is not how it works. And one of my professors that I was really close with, I was, sharing my concerns, and she shared with me that it's not about the major that you get. It's about the skills, the experiences that you get from that, and almost how you market that. And I would almost attribute that to landing my first job after college.
Yeah, and you've been at Marvin for about a year. How have you taken that lesson and brought it with you from one job to this next job? How have you built on that?
Yeah, I think really when I think of that lesson, it grounds a little bit of confidence in myself. I was originally taught, I majored in anthropology, so what can an anthropologist bring to the table? Tell them why they need an anthropologist. But if you kind of scrub anthropologist for, insert skill here or experience here, of these are the things that I've learned, these are the things that I have been successful with, this is what I bring to the table, this is what I've done, and this is, the next step and the thing that I know that I can continue to do great things at and improve on.
That's amazing. And a perfect segue into our next break, because what is that next step? And so after the break, we're going to get into the conversation of how did we become then a mentor? How did we take what we learned as mentees and apply that into mentoring the next generation? We'll be right back. All right, here the conversation, well, that's a hard word on a Tuesday, conversation shifts towards mentoring others and why taking what you've learned as a mentee and why it's so important giving that back. Okay, so Abby, I prepped you. We're diving in with you.
Okay.
When did you realize it was time to step into a mentor role? And what motivated you to do that?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I've got lots of points on this. I'd say first, so when I was in college, I sought out a lot of mentors, and while they were all great, and I have nothing bad to say about any of them, none of them were, I couldn't see myself in their shoes because we didn't have similar lives. I was getting mentored by men and women who had children and were married and were well established in their career, which serves a great benefit. But I also wanted to be mentored by someone who was like 2 years into their career and it was in the trenches too, and could give me real-time advice on how to interview and how to sell yourself as a young professional and all of that stuff. So that was a big motivator when I decided this year to mentor a student at NDSU, because it's easy to say like, oh, I don't know, I don't have any experience. What could I bring to the table? You can always bring something. You can always bring something to the table. And I honestly think that a lot of young professionals especially love to learn from other young professionals because it just is real-time feedback. So that was one piece of it. I think another piece that I realized, the lesson that everyone knows, it takes a village, right? We often hear that when we're talking about parenting, which, wow, I'm bringing up parenting a lot. I don't know.
Shout out the parents.
Yeah, literally. You guys are the real ones. It takes a village to raise children. It absolutely does. It also takes a village to build a career. You can't do it on your own. There's no I in team. I mean, there's lots of sayings about this. And your village can be a wide range of people, and it should be. Yeah. You should have people in your village who are executive level, who have worked for 40 years. You should have people in your village who have worked for 20 years. You should have people in your village that are your age. You should every aspect of it. And so that was another piece too of you fit into the village somewhere. So find where you fit with someone else.
You make a really good point too. I want to call this out is a mentor can be younger than you. Yeah. And I've been mentored by some really great young professionals. I would say I'm still young, but Abby and I work together at the Chamber, and I've learned so much about what this generation of young 20s are doing for the workforce, and I'm learning a ton. Yeah. And so that village, it really is just like a 360.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too with our young professional network, and that in and of itself, yes, it's networking, and yes, it's connecting with others, but it's also just a huge group of mentors. I mean, you get them all in a room together. It's crazy the things the problems we're solving. You'd think world peace would be solved by now.
Yeah,
exactly. And so when you think about your career and stepping into that role, it doesn't have to look traditional. Is another point of it. Can join YPN, join a group where you're surrounded by other individuals, and look at that through a mentorship lens as well.
Yeah, and it's valuable to work for companies who see that culture of mentorship as important. And I know we see that at the Chamber, especially with the things that we're doing with programs. I'd love to hear from Matt and Grace a little bit about how your companies have presented a culture of mentorship and how that encourages you to become involved as mentors.
Sure. Organizations can encourage culture of mentorship just by giving team members the opportunity to try something that aligns with their career development goals. And then on top of that, or building upon that, just give them the bandwidth. They're going to trip, they're going to stumble, they're going to fall, like we've talked about earlier today. But you as a mentor just have to be there to be kind of that safety net and catch them. And then be willing to talk about maybe what they've learned and how they can grow and build upon that lesson. More Engineering, I think, does an awesome job, not only supporting, myself through this leadership program with the Chamber, but also internally, we have, I think, a great culture of mentorship and encourage leadership, not only from top down, but bottom up. And that kind of goes into your point, Abby. It's fun and exhilarating to work at a company like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll add to that, Matt. I really like that you said clarity. That's kind of where my mind went right away. I touched earlier on the values that we have at Marvin. The one that resonates with me the most is be stronger together. But something that I really like about what they do is from day one, you learn the values of the company. You discuss them, you talk about what stands out. And when you do that, and when we're constantly exposed to them, they're all over our environment, you remember them. It sets sort of a general expectation and understanding of how we show up for each other. And I think it level sets and really becomes part of that culture, especially when I think of Be Stronger Together. I have never experienced a moment where I felt like I've had to figure out something on my own. And I think these values also reflect into the community. I think of the community relations work that I do. We understand that the communities are where our team members live. And while obviously we're very passionate about creating a great place to work, you also need to understand that the community is where our team members go home to. So how can we create a great community for them and everyone else in it? So I think those kind of external opportunities. I think of our engagement with the Adventures program, opening up our facility to educators and other sort of workforce navigators to really kind of bring it all together. And to me, it's almost like this wonderful environment of mentorship and kind of growth and development together. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, it really does all start melting, right? I mean, like what you do in the workplace is going to melt into when you go home and who you are at home. And I mean, we're doing all the shout outs, so why not do one more? Shout out to Marvin's, because they're also making great homes with windows and doors that work the best. So woo woo. But I think what's really interesting is you brought up Adventures, and I don't think we maybe hear enough about that opportunity that the Chamber does put on. And what that is our educators from the whole region into North Dakota and Minnesota, not just teachers, come in and they get to go into these businesses and they get to learn about what will be beneficial for that next generation. And what cool story that I'm going to share, Grace and I were actually hosting at a site once together, and a kindergarten teacher is learning. I think we were at Border States, and they were learning about what it takes to work at Border States, a kindergarten teacher. And so they're bringing that back to their students, and they're teaching them about collaboration. They're teaching them about teamwork. They're not teaching them how to be an engineer necessarily at that age, but it's starting as early as kindergarten and building up all the way into when they enter the workforce, which I think is really cool. So next question I have then kind of shifts gears a little bit. What are some of the myths and misconceptions people have, do you guys think, about being a mentor? So the one that I always think of is, I'm not old enough to be a mentor. That
was the one I was going to say right off the top of my head.
Took it. No, just kidding.
Only high leadership or management positions can be mentors.
Yeah.
No, it can be from any seat. That's false.
Myth busted.
Busted.
Yeah. And so where have you seen that play out, Matt?
I've seen it play out at my current role at Moore. I mean, I think when I hopped into a role or started full-time of my seasoned years, as I alluded to, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to step out of your lane, and then you get a little experience under your belt, and you're like, wait a minute, I can also teach these team members the same thing. Or somebody else gets hired that's younger than you. It's like, I can teach you how I just learned from X, Y, or Z, and I can be that mentor. And then when you're on a team of or a greater project team, you kind of look around and it's like, how are you going to get this task done? How are we going to design this project? You're all doing it together, and you're all mentoring each other. You don't realize it, but that's what's going on.
I love that. That's definitely myth busted. Everyone say it together.
Myth
busted.
busted.
Oh. Never mind.
We didn't coordinate that
right. We'll get the next one. What's another myth that we can bust today on mentoring?
I can go.
All right.
I would say one that I hear a lot is like, I don't have the time to make an impact. Mentorship isn't something that it's not one size fits all. And so it's not like, oh, well, I'm going to mentor a student, and so I have to meet with them for an hour every week, and I don't have an hour every week. I've done something as little as taking 2 hours out of my day to go to Horace High School and do mock interviews with senior students. You know, the next generation of workforce is not going to be good if we don't invest in them, right? Like, we have to invest in our next generation if we want to keep progressing. And so it's not like it has to be every week, every month, every whatever it might be. Doesn't have to be a routine thing. It could just be every once in a while you take some time out of your day to go do mock interviews or whatever it might be.
That's a great one. Yeah, there's no time frame on what it looks like to mentor someone. Myth busted. One, two, three. Myth busted. All right, Grace, bring us home with the third myth we can bust today.
One that I think of is that your mentor needs to be in your field or kind of focused area of work.
That's a myth.
That's a myth. You don't need that.
I don't need that. Get that out of here. Tell me about an experience that you had a mentor or you got to mentor someone outside of your field.
Yeah, I think what comes to mind right away is even just within Marvin. Well, it's not necessarily someone on my community relations team, but it might be a manufacturing engineer that I work with. So absolutely foreign from my skill set, but there's just kind of a lot of points in which you have that shared understanding or have those conversations where maybe it's not necessarily applicable to engineering, but that insight that they share is still universal.
Absolutely. Well, myth busted. All right, we crushed that one. All right, so we're gonna take this into the break, and we've busted all the myths. We've talked about what it takes to be a mentor, what it takes to be a mentee. When we come back, we're gonna put it all together, and we're gonna look forward, and we're gonna give you something to take with you. All right, well, welcome back. We are going to take it home, looking ahead. How do we take mentorship into the next phase? So the question I'm going to ask all of us is, what's one simple step listeners can take right now, today, or tomorrow if you want, to engage in mentorship, whether that's as a mentee or a mentor?
I'll start. Well, I kind of teased it earlier. It's take that step and find that engagement or that event that you're going to do to reach out to that mentor. When you become the mentor, and personally see a mentee kind of achieve a goal that they thought was impossible, that feeling of gratitude and pride is just unmatched. So and then a side benefit is a lot of our mentees can become close friends. And just when you take the time to invest in that relationship as a mentor, it's awesome.
Yeah. I love that piece of you can take mentorship into the next level and become friends. That's, I think, another myth we could bust is that you have to keep this relationship in a box, but you don't. I love that. Great advice.
I'll jump off that one. One thing kind of building off of that, I would say, is like make an intentional effort. So whether it's blocking your calendar, setting a goal for yourself. For a while, I set a goal for myself that I was going to reach out to one new person a week and ask for coffee. It's very easy to say like, oh, I'm going to work on networking this year. It's like a New Year's resolution, right? Like you're like, oh, it's going to be so great. And then like by January 15th, you're like, that we're done. I'm too busy. So don't be too busy. Make like a reoccurring event on your calendar, whatever it might be. You have to like actually mark it and do it, if that makes sense.
What is one of the most effective ways or an effective way that you've reached out to people to get involved or ask for coffee? What are some ways that you've used?
Yeah, I would say simply reaching out after an event has been really, really effective. And so attending different chamber events, whether it's Women Connect or a YPN event or just any event out in the community where you hear people speaking, take note of who it is, connect with them on LinkedIn, reach out, whether it's email, LinkedIn message, whatever it might be after. It's a great way to kind of have a warm open of just, hey, I saw you speaking at XYZ event. I really loved what you said, and I'd love to pick your brain more about your career and what you mentioned. would it be one of the most effective ways? You also could always ask a coworker to make a connection for you if they have it. That's always very effective.
Good call out. Really good call out.
I'd love to jump off of that, especially from the mentee perspective. And I've touched on it a little bit of where I've found success is just having that bit of intention before you even reach out of like, what am I focusing on? Why am I reaching out to this specific person? So what area did they really shine in that I'm drawn to? Because I think that creates a little bit of maybe even accountability within the relationship of that first, coffee chat that you go to of, thank you so much for meeting with me. I'm really excited to talk to you about blank. It's something that I really want to develop in my career. And I think that you are just, you're just wonderful at it. And I'd love to learn from you. So a little bit of that accountability and just kind of focus area that you can work on together.
Well, and who doesn't love a compliment?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, I was going to kind of build upon that. As a mentee, you'd be surprised at when you reach out to that mentor, they're going to be honored, and they're going to feel a sense of pride that you reach out to them. You want to learn from them and build upon their experiences that they've gone through. And so when you become that mentor, just embrace that as well, because that young person or peer, because it doesn't have to be a young person necessarily, just make sure you take the time to also invest back for the mentee, because they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. One. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry, I have a fun fact for us today.
Oh, love it.
I actually reached out to Grace for advice when I didn't even know her. And so, little fun fact for all of our listeners is that the two people at this table have put this into practice.
Yeah.
I love that. Tell us about it if you want to. How did that go? How did it go?
It went great.
Yeah.
I reached out just to chat. It was before I was working at the chamber, and I was curious about what the chamber was like. We have a connection. We're both nerds, and we were in student government. Shout out to student government. Love that. And so I just reached out, and she responded, and it was great.
It was great. It was a little like LinkedIn reach out. So even kind of a plug of if an event isn't in your capacity or ability, always LinkedIn. My thought is I've never said no to getting coffee with someone. Like, just what a fun thing that you can add into your day. And generally, from my experience, everyone loves to share their skills and their insights. I really have not found someone who is not open to that. And I would even plug, I feel that our Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo community is just like especially strong and open and focused towards that.
The word that keeps coming to my mind is authenticity. And just even hearing all three of you talk about your experiences and the ways that you've developed mentorship relationships and mentee relationships, you really identified who you are and you showed up authentically. Has that ever been difficult to do?
I would say yes, absolutely. I think it's kind of a reframing in your mind of just, who am I? What am I showing up to? I don't know. It's very easy to get very animated very quickly, and I'm supposed to be professional, and I'm supposed to be this and that, and I want to be this person. You have your people that you look up to, and so you almost have to reframe of like, yeah, it's great to have people to look up to and role models, but like, what can I take from them and apply to myself? Because I'm not going to make it very far if I'm not authentic.
Definitely.
And I would add, a mentorship relationship, it can grow old. So you can have a mentor for a very long time, and it's okay to move on and find new mentors and challenge yourself in that way.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I really appreciated this conversation. And before we get to our closing, I want to just plug a couple things that the Chamber has coming up. Like I said, leadership applications, a great spot to start looking for mentors and developing as a mentor, but also our Young Professionals Network. Opportunities for our young professionals, but also for our more advanced professionals to see what the next generation is doing in a really positive light. So with that, thank you to Abby, Grace, and Matt for sharing your stories and your insights on mentorship and for the ways that you're investing in others through your leadership and your companies and just beyond. It's so inspiring. And thank you for listening to the Chamber Link. Join us next time as we continue highlighting the people, ideas, and connections that move our business community forward. Have a great day.